Welcome to Equality Education, a show about inclusive teaching, supportive parenting, and a kinder future. Hello, welcome. How are you? I hope you're good. So, what have I got in store for you today? Well, today's podcast is for any parent or carer who wants to know what they should do if or when their child comes out to them as LGBTQ+, because that could happen. Or maybe it already has happened. And I don't want to pile on the pressure straight away, but I think you need to understand that as a parent, your reaction to your child coming out will likely be something that stays with them for the rest of their life. Yeah. So I want to make sure that you feel equipped to make sure it can be as positive an experience as possible for everyone. And it will be. The fact that you are here, the fact that you are listening to this means you're already winning. And it just goes to show that you are a person who really cares about your child and loves them and wants to do whatever you can to help them. So, well done. You get a point straight away just for being here. Unicorn point for you. Well done. Now, I might have slightly just piled on the pressure, but please do not worry because actually there is no perfect way to do this. Of course, there are certain things you really should kind of do and other things I'd maybe advise against, but just know that every coming out story is going to be different and your family's experience will be so unique to you. And, that's what's beautiful about it. So relax. It's going to be fine. You got this. So what I'm going to give you today is some advice which will hopefully prepare you, hopefully make you feel more confident and also just help you feel more at ease with the whole thing. Now, I'm a professional gay, whatever that means. I've been openly gay for 16 years now. Crikey. Wow. And back when I came out in 2004, it was a slightly different time. And I think LGBT plus acceptance in society has progressed so much since then, especially here in the UK. And yeah, we still have some hurdles, particularly with regards to things like trans rights. But yeah, coming out as gay in 2004 will have been different to what it is now. And I think myself and my parents did struggle. We struggled to navigate our way through it. And it wasn't particularly easy for any of us. But we got there in the end and we have a great relationship. My parents are awesome. They're so supportive of me and my work. And they've even been to a few prides with me too. They're actually adorable. But I know it would have been super handy for my little parents, they're very small, if they'd had help, perhaps a little voice from the internet giving them some tips and advice. And actually that would of course had a knock-on effect and made my life as the young LGBT plus person who was coming out easier too. So that's what this is. This is 10 pieces of advice from me for if or when your child comes out to you as LGBTQ+. And yeah, this is like just my advice, but I think it's advice which a lot of people would agree with. But of course, everyone has different opinions on these things. So yeah, I hope this can help. And maybe your child has already come out to you as LGBTQ+, and you didn't react in the way you wanted to. And I just want you to know that it's not too late. You can take some of these points I'm going to make today and use them positively. So, number one is emotion. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Let's imagine your child has literally just come out to you. Now, what I think will be the first thing that happens to you as a parent is that you will likely begin to feel some emotion. And again, this is going to be so individual to you, but what I want you to do is just be prepared for this moment because, like I said, your initial response is going to be important and probably will be etched into your child's mind forever. So please, whatever you're feeling, try and react positively. Put your arms out for a hug, tell them you love them, look after them. Because if I'm honest, I think the last thing a child wants is to see their parent reacting to them coming out with a negative emotion. For example, being upset, I would say is negative. I really don't want you to be upset because you don't need to be. Your child is going to be fine. They are going to have an awesome life. But right now, they need your positivity and support. Now, if you are upset, And I can kind of understand why, because when I came out, I remember my mum said something like she just thought life was going to be more difficult for me. And I get that, because at this moment in time, that statement is potentially slightly true, unfortunately. But actually, when you think about it, what's really going to make a young LGBT plus person's life more difficult is if they're not allowed to be their authentic self. Yeah. And to be fair, everyone, whether you're LGBT plus or not, is going to experience some difficulties in life because, well, that's just life, isn't it? That's life. So please, if you can, try not to be visibly upset in front of your child. Can you cry? If they're happy tears, I think that's okay. Just make sure your child knows that they're happy tears. Can you be angry? No, I would definitely say no. But if you are, maybe you need to really stop and ask yourself why you are angry, because you shouldn't be. I mean, you might be angry from a kind of place like you're angry your child felt like they couldn't tell you this information sooner. But even still, just don't be angry. Be calm. What about shock? Well, when I'm in shock, I tend to remove myself from the situation because I need time to process the information. However, in this situation, yes, you might be in shock. In shock? I hope you're not in a sock. I'm sure you won't be in a sock. But yeah, you might be in shock. You might need some time to also process everything. But I just think it's really important, if you can, you don't leave the situation without first acknowledging what your child has said and letting them know that it is okay and that you love them. Which leads nicely to number 2, which is acknowledgement. So, after I came out, there was a period of time when my parents just didn't mention much about it again. And of course, I didn't blame them because they were just trying to work it out as much as I was. It was a confusing time for all of us. But unknowingly for them, it was kind of their avoidance of discussing the topic with me, which added to the shame that I was feeling. And I know they didn't mean for it to come across like that at all. But it felt like they just didn't want to know, which actually wasn't the case at all, that they did want to know. I think they were just scared. So my advice would be to make it very clear to your child that you heard them and thank them for trusting you enough to tell you, because it really does take a huge amount of courage to do so. But don't acknowledge it and sweep it under the rug like it didn't happen. If you can, try and keep the conversation going. I mean, you will need to read the situation and take the lead from your child as to whether they do want to keep the conversation going, because they might not. They may want to continue the conversation at a later point in time. But whatever they decide, just let them know that you are open and ready for conversation with them whenever and if ever they need. And yeah, also try and keep that conversation positive. Which now takes us to point number 3, which is clarity. Now, I think it's important for you to try and understand as best as possible what your child now wants from you without overwhelming them. I get that you might have a lot of questions, but again, let them lead the conversation. They might not be ready to talk about how they're feeling extensively, but then again, they may want to. I'd let them do most of the talking. If you do have questions, maybe ask them if they are comfortable with you asking some questions, but let them know that they don't have to answer them questions. Perhaps if either party is feeling uncomfortable at the prospect of asking and answering things, you can maybe write your questions down and both answer them for each other in your own time, which is kind of cute. Some things I think you should try and get clarity on is if they have come out to anyone else, or if they have anyone else for support, such as a friend, a teacher, or another family member. You might want to try and find out if your child wants you to let other people know their LGBTQ plus identity, or whether it's information that they want you to keep to yourself for the time being. I would advise maybe not asking them about sex or any sex-related questions, especially straight away. But what you can do is let them know that they can talk to you about anything, and that if you don't know the right answer, you will get them the information they need. And perhaps depending on their age, if they're a teenager or a young person, maybe you can point them in the direction of some safe sexual health guides for LGBTQ plus young people. And actually, I'll be sure to include some of these links and resources on a downloadable PDF that you'll be able to download from popnolly.com/free-resources. Yeah, I'll do that. Cool. And speaking of safety, that is actually my next point. Safety. You want to make sure your child feels safe, that they are safe with you, that they're safe in your home, and that you will support them no matter what. And that if they want you to, you will help them to navigate this. Again, I'll add some useful links to the downloadable PDF that will help you as a parent of an LGBTQ plus child. But yeah, safety is vital. And your child knowing that they belong and that they are welcome, whoever they are, is vital. You do not want them to feel so uncomfortable that they step away or even run away from you. So it's really important that you make sure they know that they will always be loved in your home. Whilst we're on the topic of safety, I want you to be aware of your safety as well, or rather your health and mental well-being during all of this, because you need support too. And you may find that you also need to speak with someone about all of this, because it can be a lot to take in. So it'd be great if you had some, whether it's a friend, another LGBTQ plus person, or perhaps even an LGBTQ plus helpline. So I will add some useful numbers to the PDF as well for you. So up next is a lovely one. It is be kind. Be kind. When a child first comes out, they do not want to hear, "Oh, we already knew that," because that just totally disregards them and their voice and their courage. It can also make them feel embarrassed and wonder how many other people knew that they were LGBTQ plus before they even realized themselves. So yeah, don't do that. Maybe in time you can let them know you had an inkling, but I would let them have their moment. Okay, number 6, I think this is number 6, is representation. This is fun. And actually, this is what you should be doing way, way before your child comes out, regardless of what your child's identity will be. And that is show them positive LGBTQ plus role models. Let them know that LGBTQ plus people can be happy, can be successful, that they can have families, get married, they can transition, and that they are a welcome part of society. Just make sure they know that life will be good for them. Now they are being their authentic self, because it will be. I mean, I'm so grateful to be LGBT plus. It's awesome. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm part of such an incredible, diverse, exciting, accepting community. And now, not only is your child, but you are too. Because you, my friend, if you wasn't before, you get to be an LGBTQ plus ally. Welcome. You're going to love it. Trust. And just going back to the role models, yeah, show them famous LGBTQ plus people for sure. But also, if you can, try and find people in your community, because there are LGBTQ plus people everywhere. And sometimes just knowing that there is another real life LGBTQ plus person in your circle you can actually talk to, that can really help. Okay, number 7, shame. Do not shame them. And I know you won't, but the reality is that some parents will. And whatever it is, religion, family, tradition, it will just make them feel awful. And if they are anything like me, they may have already spent most of their childhood feeling ashamed because they might have known that they were different. They may have spent a huge part of their life not being the real them already out of fear. And for them to get to the point where they are brave enough to accept themselves and tell a parent, for that parent to not only not accept them, but to shame or humiliate them, I cannot express how damaging that will be. Not just in that moment, but potentially for the rest of their life. And growing up LGBT plus can be traumatic enough as it is. I think I was 4 years old when I started filtering myself, when I started not being the real me, because every time I picked up a doll or played with the girls, I was shamed. Not by my parents, but by classmates or older cousins or family friends. And for a child to experience shame and humiliation for something that they can't change about themselves, that's just incredibly damaging. So please do not add to that. But I know you won't. Okay, let's move to a positive one. Celebrate. This one is celebrate. I mean, this depends on the child and your relationship. But if your child is comfortable with this, then why not celebrate their identity? You could bake them a coming out rainbow cake, or buy them a rainbow buy or trans flag, or even just attending a pride event with them. Lets them know that you are on board. I love it when my parents come to pride events with me, because even though they can be like quiet little things, I know they're proud of me, and that means so much. So yeah, if it's right for you and your situation, celebrate. Also, with that in mind, be sure not to accidentally out them to everyone. Like, don't throw a surprise party for them if they're not out to everyone. But yeah, again, that takes you back to point number 3, which was clarity and conversation. And finally, is this finally? Yeah, this is my final piece of advice. This is a very short one because I don't need to say too much. This is number 9, and it is love them. Let them know that you love them all the time. Let them know that you are proud of them and you wouldn't have it any other way. And I left this as the last point because the fact that you are listening to the podcast, learning about this, means you love them so much already and that you just want so much happiness for them. So well done. Another high five for you. And that's the final piece of advice. Is it? I thought I said 10. I think I did say 10 and that was only 9. Oops. I'm sorry. Hey, I tell you what, if I've left anything out, please do let me know. Maybe you can email me at ollie@popandollie.com and then I can pass on your advice and tips as well. So yeah, so correction, that was actually 9 pieces of advice for you. But yes, I hope you found them useful and thank you for listening. But you know what I think would be a whole lot more useful and would make coming out a whole lot easier for just everyone? If we didn't have to come out at all. Wouldn't it be great if LGBT plus relationships and identities were just so usual and accepted that coming out just wasn't a thing? Do you think we can achieve that? I think we can, maybe, one day. But we have to start now, and we can start now. And we can start now by letting all children know as soon as possible that LGBT plus people exist. And we can do that so easily with storybooks or videos which simply show that some families have 2 mummies or 2 daddies, or that some princesses fall in love with other princesses, or some princes may want to marry other princes. And on that note, I'm going to plug here. If you haven't heard about my Kenny Lives campaign, please check it out at lgbteducation.co.uk. Basically, what I'm trying to do is send a copy of my latest LGBT plus inclusive book, Kenny Lives, with Erica and Martina, to every single primary school in the UK, which is a lot of schools. But we have made an excellent start. But yes, if you could help by sending a copy of the book to your old primary school, that would be amazing. And all you have to do is go to lgbteducation.co.uk. Yeah. So that is the end of this episode. Don't forget to download that free PDF with all the info from today's episode on it at popandollie.com/free-resources. And if you are listening to this on iTunes, please give me a little review. That would be great. And yeah, thanks for being here, everyone. And I look forward to making more useful episodes for you. Okay, remember, you're awesome, and I'll see you next time.